Hello everyone, welcome to another Lions Den Sport interview. Again, I've got Mohammed Shahid. Mohammed, thank you very much for coming on. Mohammed, the president of Brave Combat Federation. First of all, how are you doing, my friend?
Amazing. Thank you, Jay. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here and have the chat with you.
Well, we had such a great chat before, and we found out more about you, your background, how Brave started, your fighting career. So it's really good to do that. I guess now you're just coming off a big event over in France, Brave 74. After seeing it, it looked packed. It looked absolutely amazing. So credit to you and your team for organising such a great event. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it there, but we just spoke. Hopefully, we'll come to the next one, man. But tell us, how did you think the whole event went?
I mean, you see, we always say that what we as Brave Combat Federation, we do is we tap into every market that's there. It's not only the underserved markets. We also go to markets that have MMA popularity already established, the foundation's already established. But it's always nice to go and understand different fans, and what an introduction to French MMA market. I mean, we always get surprised with every event we hold in new countries, new territories. It's always a surprising thing because it's also a learning process for us to understand them on ground. I mean, we hear the news, we get our market studies, we do all of that before the event, but it's nothing compared to actually feeling and seeing and, testing it on ground. And that's what we felt. We were really surprised and really excited. We knew how amazing the French MMA fans were. And we see that that's one of the biggest markets today in Europe for mixed martial arts. You see everybody, all the top organizations trying to enter the French market. So we want to do slightly something different. We want to cater to the French market in different cities rather than just always targeting Paris. And that's why we saw that there was no better place to go than Nantes because of the history of handball. We as Bahrain has a really strong handball team. And the Nantes handball team is also one of the best handball teams in Europe. So we had a great relationship with HBC Nantes, which is the home for their handball city team. And we made a collaboration. We said that, let's bring MMA outside of Paris to a new city, and that's where they've never experienced an international MMA event outside of Paris. And we wanted to bring that on the table. And guess what, Terry? I mean, it was amazing that we reached there and we didn't know what to expect. We were just coming off a week or so after the UFC event. But we had a massive fan following in Nantes. We had a house full venue, and the fans just really enjoyed it. I mean, they were there. I mean, we used to having these MMA events where we have 6 to 7 hours of show, and then we see the fans coming in after almost close to the main card. But I was coming to the venue. I reached the venue an hour before, but when I was reaching the venue, I was just seeing a packed crowd just standing almost a kilometer long of a line waiting to enter 1 hour before the event starts. And then they were there all the way to 30 minutes after the event was finished. So it was an exciting time for us. But again, we always say that we can set the stage. The fans are passionate to come there. But at the end of the day, the fighters have to put on the show, and it's their show. All we can do is set the stage and we leave the rest to them. And I think the fighters also really delivered in that in our event, Brave 74. But all of this is amazing, to have that event that way and to have a successful event in France and get all these benefits on the exact same event that is actually going to break all the MMA records to become the first MMA organization to travel to 29 countries and host in 29 countries around the world. And no MMA organization have done that, let alone any organization have done what we've done in the first 5 years of their inception. But to look at their history and still nobody been able to match being hosted in 29 countries, that shows that's a huge milestone for us because it resembles or it's synonymous to what our vision is in terms of bringing the world of mixed martial art together and giving opportunity to athletes around the world.
You mentioned 29 countries, which is amazing. As you said, no other organization has done that. I heard a little rumor that you're trying to target new countries as well. Are you able to give us any indication of what countries they are?
Absolutely. I mean, we are in the history of UFC. They've traveled to 28 countries. So we're just 29 countries. So there's no limit to just staying at 29. We're definitely going to go into more countries. I think there's so much MMA fans that's out there. MMA is you look at the fan base of 500 to 600 million MMA fans around the world, and the fan base is properly underserved when you think about it in terms of the amount of content that events that they're having. Sure, we have organizations like Brave, UFC, PFL, Bellator, and so on, so who are actually distributing content around the world. But that's just one part of it, I feel. I feel like you want to have events and the whole MMA system in their countries. And that's what they want to see. They want to see local events. They want to see international athletes come. They want to see their athletes go internationally and compete internationally. All of that is a part of it. So we have to go on ground and host events. So we're really looking at tapping into new countries as well. I mean, the event we had in Colombia before the French event, which was the Brave International Combat Week for Pan Am, just opened doors for us where all the countries in Pan America, from Mexico to Trinidad and Tobago, all of them, we've had amazing communications with them to go back. We've already been to Mexico, but they wanted us to go back again. And we've had so many other countries at the government level showing interest in hosting Brave Combat Federation there as well. But Europe, we're going to be back in Europe in 2024 with much more, many more new territories, let's say.
Amazing. And I have to say congratulations to you as well. I heard about the keys, freedom of the city keys in Colombia.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
How did that come about? That's amazing.
I mean, so we always say that why Brave is different from other organizations, because we're just not a sports brand. We're actually a brand that is looking at sports development as our priority. So when we go to countries like, so when we went to Colombia and we were holding our first event, second event, and during the third event, which was a Pan American, it showed the value of what we're bringing. We didn't go there to just hold an event and get the ticket sales done and move away. We wanted to bring the development of the sport there. So when you have the Pan American Championship being hosted in Colombia, that is a snowball effect of us having our event in Colombia the first time, which I think it was, could be wrong, but I think it was 2017 or 18, our first event. And then we did the second event in Colombia. And then it was considered as a country that can host a Pan American Championship. So, and they held it and they did a fantastic job with it. So now the question is, every city wants to benefit from it, just like what we did in France, right? We didn't go to Paris, we went to Nantes. So tomorrow they're like, okay, so if you're okay as Brave Combat Federation, that your target is not the biggest place, you want to work together in developing the sport, and that means going to different cities, regardless of how big the cities or how much MMA fans are there. We want to build that fan base, we want to build mixed martial art. So that mentality is something that could really relate to a lot of cities in every country. So the mayor of the city was really excited to open this opportunity and say that why not host Brave in our city. And that's when he invited me. I was not able to be there, but the president of our Bahrain MMA Federation, Mr. Ibrahim Gambar, and he's also the head of Asian MMA Federation today, and he was the one who received it on my behalf. But yeah, it's just it's nice to have that feeling to receive the keys to the city, which also shows that the recognition to what you're doing. Every time we know what we're doing, but when we get that recognition, that somebody else from a city at the government level understands that we see the value of what you're doing and we want to have partner with you, it just feels nice.
Well, you're definitely making waves there, Mohammed, on a personal level as well. So it's great to see that you've achieved that, my friend. I want to go to Brave 74, the event, the card. I'd like to start from the first fight all the way down to the fifth fight first of all. So the first fight we had was Levi Caro versus, you're going to help me with this, the other gentleman's surname, Rakazana Zifa Ali. That's a term. Yeah. But you have to pronounce. You have to show me how it goes. How do you pronounce that surname?
I have no idea. I mean, I'm still learning some of the fighters' name, how to pronounce them, and I completely try to avoid pronouncing the fighters' names because I tell the guys, we've had 780 plus fighters in Brave, altogether in the past 7 years itself, and we're trying to hit that 1,000 mark very soon. Of the athletes competing in Brave from 86 different countries. Wow. So it's so difficult. Like the last time we had our Georgian fighter who performed really well, and I was like, I'm not going to pronounce his name on the media because I don't know what I'm actually pronouncing. So it's tough. So I try to avoid it, and I'm like, you know what? Let's do it gradually, so it's impossible for me to pronounce some of the names.
Let's just
But
go
you know what?
Rack. Let's go Rack.
Yeah, Rack, easy.
Rack.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's stick to Rack.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that was a fight that actually kickstarted everything, right? Uh,
Action-packed
we
stuff.
started, we started the fight at around 10 p.m. And so we had this whole event before that. Fans were there from 5 p.m. or so, and they were just staying all the way to 10. And then when the first fight started for Brave, we were like, okay, it just needs to bring back life into the fans. And boy, he just actually came in and put on a show with his knockout, and it just, it was just viral everywhere. So the fans everybody stood up. They were on their feet. And I was like, we just started Brave Combat Federation, got launched, in France. That's the best way to launch it.
And they were both French fighters, weren't they? Both quite popular fighters.
Absolutely.
So I think that was the only French fighter that won in the night as well, right?
Yeah, true. It was not the best night for the French fighters. Yeah,
you gave them tough fights, then, Mohammed. You definitely gave them tough fights. That's what
is it? Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, you always say that you either have a hero built from a Brave event or a villain. Could be either one. So at the end of the day, you have to know the stories, and eventually, even if you have a villain built for the home fans, you always want to see someone go out there and beat that individual, So I think this is the story when you think about Pride, the old days when Hickson was fighting. I think he was fighting one of the Japanese guys. I forgot his name, Takada or Tamada, one of those names. And when he beat him, sure, it was in Japan, but you actually built a villain. And that's when you see the guy likes of Kazushi Sakuraba coming in as a Gracie Hunter. They were hoping for someone to come in and, give them back what the villain has taken from them. That's the image, So you always have the villain and the heroes. But one thing you don't want is fights that is set up for someone to win, and you're like, as a promoter, you're looking and saying that, oh, we are this country, we just need to make sure that their athletes win. MMA fans are intelligent. I mean, one of the most intelligent fans that's out there, especially when you go to France, I've noticed that they love mixed martial art. They're not going to sit down and look and say that I'm just here, I'm buying a ticket, paying money to come there and watch one guy just walk over the other guy so I can cheer for my country. I want to see good fights too. They want to be entertained. They want to see two top athletes competing against each other. And that's what they want to see. They want to see good fights at the end of the day, But sure, you do have the national pride factor. And we saw that in our French event when we had the whole venue going and singing the national anthem of France, during the fight. That was something of, we were getting goosebumps to see that, like, what better motivation for a fighter? You could call his name, you could yell his name and everything of that sort. But when you sing the national anthem together, I mean, I don't know what bigger motivation that guy will have as a French fighter. So we knew that they had the national pride factor, but again, they really enjoyed the fights. They were there all the way to the end, and we've got amazing reviews from the fans who said that, that this was one of the best events they've attended. And these are people who have attended events in Paris, all the top events, So they loved what we're doing, and we will never change that. Whether it's in Bahrain or any other country, the best will fight against the best.
Good. And you said best fighting the best. What is next for Levi then? What would you say is the next step? He's 4-0 now.
Yeah, and he's 4-0. He's been having a really interesting social media conversations going on with a lot of athletes that's out there. So I think for us, it was very exciting to see him come in and put on a show like the way he put on. And again, not just winning a fight, but winning in the fashion that he won. So I think for Levi, we're looking forward to getting him back into the cage as soon as possible. We have events coming up this year, more events coming up this year, and I want to get him back in as soon as possible.
Nice, man. The second fight of the night, over at Bantamweight, you have Borislav Nikolaev. I think I've done that good. And you got Ali Gulev.
Yes.
Another first round finish there. Obviously, a lot of that happened on the night. How did that fight plan out for you?
It was unexpected. I wasn't expecting a first round finish. I was really looking forward to that fight in the sense that I knew these were the top two bantamweights in our roster ranking. I mean, we have a very tough bantamweight division that's out there, so these two athletes have showcased what they are. They've fought, they've been on a winning streak. Both these guys looks like they want to go fight against the top guys in the roster. But at the same time, it was more about they had to prove themselves, and there was no better way to prove themselves than fighting each other. So for me, I was expecting a really, really tough fight. I was looking for a 3-round fight. I thought that this is going to be a hard one, but Borislav, to be honest, he shocked everybody, and I finished the fight and I went to him and I told him that I know you know as well that a lot of people thought you're not going to be the one coming out with your hand raised, but he's like, yeah, I knew that. And I was very sure. And that's more why I wanted to win this fight by a finish. I didn't want to win this fight by decision. And he said that I knew it. I knew that every time I fight, nobody is looking at me as a top contender, or they're not looking at me and thinking that, okay, you know what, that's one of the top 5 in Brave Combat Federation. So he had to make a statement. And Ali Guliev is a tough cat, I mean, this guy is not someone that is going to come in and get knocked out. But for Borislav to do that, I think that shows that there's no question about it. Ali Guliev is going to come back. I'm sure that he's going to be back very soon. He's going to be recovering. And I met him in the airport while I was traveling back. And he came to me and he's like, boss, I need to fight next fight. I need to get me back in soon. I said, you know what? We'll check with the regulations and everything else. But yeah, as soon as you're ready, he really wants to get back, and he feels like he didn't show enough. He feels like he was not himself. But that's fight business, man. I mean, you're going to come in. Sometimes you're at your best. Sometimes it's just not your night. It was not Ali Guliev's night, but nothing to take out from Borislav. He just really established himself and said that, you know what, get me the top 5 in bantamweight division. I'm going to go for them, So it is going to be a fun one.
It was quite interesting fight in the terms that you had Borislav, who had just come off a loss, and you had Ali, who was 6-0 7-0 at the time.
7-0, yeah.
7-0 at the time. So, favourite would have to be Ali, but he Bruce turned it upside down, the script, didn't he? And he really...
Yeah, Ali was the favourite by far, right? And everybody was like, that's an Ali win, There was everybody was thinking Ali is going to win. But what they didn't know about Borislav is, who did he lose against, I mean, he's always taken tough fights, So for him, it was, I think, Borislav, when he had, I think he fought in Serbia as well, when we had the event in Serbia. And for him, he's never come out and ever said that I need an easy fight, or get me a fight, or I'm not going to take this fight. Oh, this is not the right time for me to fight. It never happened with him, So he's taken the fight the way, whatever we put in front of him, and he's taken the fight. And he's had, I think, 2 losses of just 2 top guys in Brave. And and for him, I think he always had this thing that he was not considered brave as a fighter from Brave, because he's always there against the top guys, and he's never got his proper channel to walk in and reach where he has to reach, But hey, guess what? If as an organization it didn't come out that way, for sure he just snatched and took it from us. Now there's no other question than being able to showcase him to the world now,
But where do you reckon both fighters can go on the end of this now?
I think Borislav he's established himself. I mean, Ali Guliev was in our top 5 ranking of the bantamweight roster, right? And now with Borislav beating Ali Guliev, I think he's right up there and jumped into the top 5. We have to wait till the rankings are out, but he's definitely climbed that ladder, and he's going to be competing against the top guys now. There is a stacked division when we are looking at the guys like Siddin Darbani, Hamza Kohiji, Nkosi, and Shorty Torres, and then you're looking at Veli Murad's coming in. It's just there's a lot of guys out there who are just looking for blood and just trying to get that title shot, because Hamza's only loss against Brad Katona, which was a very close decision, which is a split decision actually, where a lot of people thought Hamza Kohiji won that fight. But then there's Izzeddin Darbani, who's climbing really fast into the ranks of Brave. But then you have Gamzat, who's taking his long break and looking to come back and enter the scene, because his last loss again was for the title. He was a title contender, and he lost in the championship fight. But then Shorty and Nkosi came in and changed the whole division, right? They made a title fight. We want to make that rematch again, and definitely there's no other way. Nobody's going to get the title shot other than a rematch. It has to be a rematch, and that's 100%.
We're going to come on to that. I'm going to come on to
Yeah.
that. Because I have a few questions for you on that one. I'm going to go on to that. But yeah, that bantamweight division is a killer division. You've got so many great talent in that at the moment. So we look forward to seeing how that sort of weight division sort of plans out in the next 12 to 18 months. Your next fight at number 3 was at heavyweight. You had Pavel versus Salim. Pavel was a big guy, ain't he, man? Pavel is a big guy.
Yeah.
But Salim, do you know what? Salim, fair play. You saw no fear in the guy's eye during that fight. Really good warrior. Unfortunately, he got knocked out once Pavel sort of found his range. But I thought he put up a great fight. I mean, what was your sort of take on it?
You see, I mean, all credit to Salim for taking that fight. I mean, it was like Powell is a big guy with a lot of experience. I mean, he's one of those guys that we feel like we've never focused on a deep heavyweight division in our career. I mean, in Braves history, we've never focused on heavyweight as our biggest focus. I know it's a fan-friendly thing. I know people love to see heavyweights fighting against each other, but I don't feel like there is a massive roster of top heavyweights that's out in the world. Heavyweights are there so you can have fun watching them fight and perform the right way. But if we've seen that talent, we've tried to acquire them. We've tried to give them a fight. When you look at the likes of Shamil Gaziev, who just won the Dana White series yesterday or today morning, we've had him in Brave. We like the likes of Powell as well. We know these are quality heavyweights, So, but challenge is you don't get fights for them that easily. When you see the likes of Shamil or Powell, there's not many people who wants to compete with them, And they're like, especially the heavyweight division, you don't want to be out there getting all those, let's say, those heavy punches, and go in there unprepared. You better go in there prepared. And but Salim, he didn't blink an eye and took that fight against Powell. And we knew the quality of Salim as well, and we've heard so much about him. So it was interesting for me to go and see, like what would happen in that fight. But definitely Powell was a favorite, and a lot of people thought that Powell has to win that fight, or he's going to win that fight. It's exactly what happened, and I think that Powell needs to get back right in the game, and we are looking for having him here in Bahrain for his first. I think he never fought in Bahrain before, so we want to get him down here to Bahrain for the big event.
Who would you potentially get him against?
It's still a question. I mean, we like I said, we don't have we never focus on a deep roster of heavyweights, but we want to make sure that we find the right heavyweights. It has to be quality heavyweights. We don't want heavyweights for the sake of fighting because they're heavyweights. It has to be good fighters. That's what we're looking for, and that's why we limited the heavyweight division. Every time we have quality heavyweight who's great fighters, highly skilled heavyweights, we want to bring them on board and make a fight regardless of the roster. But that's what we're looking at. So Powell knows that he's not going to wait till next year. He's going to fight this year again. He needs to get back in the ring, so he's prepared. And the guy is fit throughout the year. I mean, that's one thing that for Powell. Like you just visit him at his home any time off season, and you see him like how he was during the fight. Ripped and in shape. It's crazy.
Wow. So we can all learn something off that, right? Stay in shape all year round, especially if you're an athlete.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because you never know when the opportunity could come up, right?
That's the key thing, and I don't understand the fighters that say that I'm not in shape and I'm not prepared. I need this much time for camping. I do get it when it's we are talking about athletes who are in the roster competing at the top level for the world title. I know what that means to them, and you have to make a smart decision. When like you said, when it's about opportunity and they're looking for opportunity and they're not getting the right opportunities, you have to be in shape all the time. You have to be really good shape all the time. Like you might get that 2 weeks notice call, you might get that 1 month notice call. You have to be in shape 100%. And every fighter, the young guys that's coming up, has to learn from that this is not. You don't use those words like camps and this all the time, because this is unfortunately this is how the sports business is in MMA. Where when you get the opportunity, you get a call, you got to jump in.
Well, we saw that actually in the next fight, in the co-main event, right? Anthony Dizzle jumped in last minute. Obviously, opponent pulled out against the Ukrainian. I did an interview with Runev. Took the fight, put up a great fight, right? Put up a great,
fantastic.
But I think he tired towards the end of the third, fourth, round. But those first rounds were really competitive. And yeah, I thought it was a good fight. And what a performance from Runev as well. Obviously, he's known as a finisher.
Yes.
He's, but does he, the home fighter French proved that how tough he was, right?
And that's why as soon as the fight was over, I think it was maybe the fight was not even over. It was a last round or something when I messaged Sam, our athlete relations head. I messaged him and I told him that we are giving this guy a long-term contract. Anthony deserves it. He gets the long-term contract. We're doing it. I don't care what the result is. Doesn't matter. He gets the contract, because to take that, Vladislav, I mean, you're looking at this guy, we're looking at him and you're looking at his MMA record, but, it's crazy how good this guy is. When you come from a combat sambo world, we've seen that throughout the whole time. Yeah, when you look at that, we've seen that in the past decade. We've seen how combat sambo athletes are dominating in MMA and how good they are. This
Khabib.
Absolutely. And they're dominating the MMA world. They have something, the X factor that the guys who are coming from wrestling background or the BJ background does not have. And they're capitalizing on it. They're taking the opportunity because they've had so much more experience competing so many times in the closest thing that is towards, that is to MMA. That's the closest thing towards MMA. The only thing that can be better than having a combat sambo experience is having an MMA experience. That's it. If you have an MMA experience, which is why I highly regard, and I was really looking forward to a fight like guys like Axel Sola, who comes from, or Ramzan Gichinov. They come from this extensive MMA background, and I want them to fight against the combat sambo world champions, because that's going to be a new story that we're going to discuss about, that we know why combat sambo champions are doing so well in MMA is because they have the closest experience to MMA from their amateur career, and that's what they've been doing. But what if you have that amateur experience, not to the closest thing to MMA, you have the amateur career in MMA itself, So now there's going to be the new generation of athletes that say that, yeah, sure, you had the combat sambo experience for the past 5-6 years, but I've been having an MMA experience for the past 6 years, So we might be both 6-0, but you might say that I'm more experienced than you because you have combat sambo experience, but I have the actual experience of the game itself, So that's the question we could answer if we had a combat sambo world champion fighting as an IMAF amateur champion. And that's something that we want to really go and find out. But hey, guess what? Anthony didn't care about combat sambo or the amateur experience. I'm going to go there to fight, and he put on a fight, and that's why he deserved the long-term contract. And I'm so excited to have him with us. I think that we really need to give him a full camp to get back and compete at the top level. Vladislav, hey, this guy is a legend. He felt his... he was so, you can see him break down after the fight, where he was, because I know that he's achieved some of the biggest things in the sport. When you are beating Russians in combat sambo, that's not a small thing. It is their game. And I remember him saying in one of his world championship victory that he said that when we used to go for combat sambo events, we used to joke about it, but discuss between talents that, hey, who's going to take the third place? Which country is going to take the third place? Because it was so obvious that Russia would take the first place because their sport. But then when he started getting that, he said that I felt bigger because now I'm opening the doors to everybody else to realize that they're not different from us. We could achieve the same thing. And he's done that for his country and 4 times, which makes him one of the legends of his country. Not just because he's a 4-time champion, but more than that, because he's shown people that, listen, this is our sport too. You work hard, you train hard, you're going to make it happen, So for me, he's in line with the legends. Like you're looking at Lomachankos and you're looking at Vladislav. They're on the same. I know that they have similarity with their father training them and bringing them up and all that stuff, the royalty of their sport within their sport itself. But yeah, he's a guy to have that fight go 3 rounds. And even a lot of people thinking that Anthony won that fight as well. That's a huge credit, that for the fight, for both of these guys and what they put inside the cage. But what an amazing fight. I mean, I couldn't have thought of a better way for that fight to go. And when he came in short notice, we thought that there's going to be Vladislav just running over, and it wasn't the case.
It shows that Anthony was, that was true to himself. He stayed in shape, right? During the time.
Yeah. Fantastic, right?
Vladislav he had him in the armbar in the second round as well. Nearly finished it. Like he got out of the armbar. Did you see? Obviously, you saw that. Mate. That was really impressive how he got out of there as well. I did an interview with Vladislav yesterday, Very nice, humble guy. As you said, 4-weight Sumba champion at 2 different weight categories as well.
Yeah.
So that shows that he can adapt to different sort of weights. What do you reckon the future is for this young kid? He's
Vladislav?
Yeah, Vladislav, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think, see, he's looking at, I think the introduction to Brave was amazing for him. And that's why when I was saying that he broke down afterwards, because he knew that that's it. He always said that he wants to be in MMA. While he was competing in Sambo, at the interview at Sambo World Championship, he actually said that my future is MMA. So this is something that he had in his mind for a long time. He was very clear about what his path is. And I think that for him, he's really not looking to, I want to compete in MMA. I want to be there. I've seen a lot of guys from other sports come into it with Brave as well. We've seen a lot of athletes that come in from different sports who have done really well in their respective sports and come into mixed martial art, and they feel like, I want to test it, I want to feel it, I want to compete and see how high I can compete it. And then I'm out, when they have this. But this guy, Vladislav, is not that. He's actually in Brave to become the champion, no doubt. And that's why he was very clear way before he signed with Brave. When he was competing in Combat Sambo World Championship, he was giving interviews and saying that my future is MMA. That's where I want to go, and that's where I want to become a champion. And so for us, those are the kind of guys we want in Brave, because when we know that we're looking for guys who are literally no other goal and priority other than wanting to be champions, and he's one of those kids. So I think we'll have to see for him to come back again and get that fights which was actually fixed for him. But that's going to be an exciting one to look into. I think Axel Sola is still out there, and I want to write that story. I want to write that story between Combat Sambo and MMA amateur career. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how that plays out.
How do you reckon it plays out?
Good question. Good question. And one side of my mind says that this is going to change. Like we've seen that, right? In our MMA history, we've seen when Jiu-Jitsu came in, nobody knew what it was. But then wrestling came in and nobody knows what that was. I mean, to understand it as much as, because you started adapting to Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling became Jiu-Jitsu, let's say. It was wrestling with Jiu-Jitsu. So you know the submissions, but you know how to wrestle. Now you're not going to submit me, but I'm still going to keep you where I want you to be, because I'm going to be the one who's controlling the dominant position. And then we saw Combat Sambo come in, who knew the wrestling, who knew the Jiu-Jitsu, but also knew the striking part of it, But these are all sports that are 100-year-old, that they've been there from centuries, and they have this. So the highest level of athletes are competing in their respective sports. So when we're looking at MMA, one side says that now you're not talking about a sport that knows Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, and striking. We're talking about a sport that is MMA itself, So to have that experience from MMA, I think that's always going to win. You can't learn how to play football by practicing another sport. You have to practice football. The amount of time that you spend practicing that particular sport. Yes, sure, you can get stronger kicks by going and kicking a tire or trying to do some fitness training, but you have to play the sport as much as you can. I feel like MMA, that's the thing. But the other side says we're still young. The amateur sport is only 10 years old. So did you have the highest level of athletes when you were having your 20 fights, 26 fights, So that's also a question. But in terms of the field experience, the cage control, all of those things within the MMA sport itself, I think Axel Sola is going to be dominant there. He knows how to use the cage. He knows the experience. He's not going there with a game plan that is all about opponent and me. His game plan involves the cage. His game plan involves the walkout. His game plan involves the lights. His game plan involves everything to do with his corner and everything that's around the system of MMA that allows him to use, So, but and then you're looking at Vladislav, who's coming in with 6 to 7 fights experience in MMA, and most of his strength is from his backing of his individual skills and techniques that he's acquired from Combat Sambo. So that's why I feel like it's a tough one, but interesting one to find out what's the result.
The good thing is Vladislav, when I did the interview with him, he says he wants that fight next. And then, so he's not looking at the champion at the moment. He says, I want that fight, then have the champion for maybe then fight after that. So that gives him that experience as well, fighting for Brave. So again, if that happens, that'd be an amazing fight. But then we have to get to the main event, right? We saw the global superstar, Lucas Martins, against Yels.
Pronounce him as they don't use the Y, so it's Ilias usually.
Ilias,
Ilias.
Ilias.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what? I did the interview with him as well, and he was like, "Yeah, pronounce Ilias." I was all right, cool. So
Oh,
yeah,
he's told to pronounce it Ilias, so maybe it is not pronounced that way. I've been pronouncing it Ilias the whole time.
who knows, man? Who knows? Who knows? Straight.
I was so confident telling you how it is pronounced. Now it feels like
It's all good. It's all good. But that was again another first round finish. Mate, what can I say to you? What a finish! What a finish!
a hero or a heel. It's you have a villain or a hero. That's what happens when you go into a country and you become the main event of the country, representing your country. So look at it. Ilias, he wanted to be the face of Brave in France, and he was the face of Brave in France, and he introduced Brave in France. He was there leading the whole promotion as the main event. It is not easy to carry that weight on the shoulder. Yes, there are people who loves that because they get the energy from the crowd, the people, the public, and at the same time, there's also a lot of pressure that comes with it because the whole event is surrounded by you and the mental fans that's out there cheering and passionate and hoping to end that night with seeing their home hero win. So you're actually taking that pressure. You're carrying that regardless whether you don't feel it. It's there with you, and then you're fighting against a legend in mixed martial art. You're fighting against a legend in mixed martial art who has this insane knockout record, who's a black belt in BJJ, and we're talking every time about his knockout record or the percentage of his finishes compared to his jiu-jitsu black belt, or the experience that he's had throughout his career, and you're bringing this guy with all of this celebrity fame and influences behind him all over social media, and everybody's talking about this. And Ilias feels like, you know what? Am I the superstar in my country? Am I the homegrown hero, or this guy is being celebrated more? But then you have the opportunity to become that hero. But as an organization, you're always going to have a hero or a villain, And I think Ilias, we know his quality, we know how good he is, But going into that fight, I don't know where it was switched off, but I don't know, and I need to. I know you had a chat with him, and I didn't have a chat with him afterwards, but I want to really know that is it that was the pressure the factor, or what was the factor in that fight? Because there was something else because you look at the striking components, and you always felt like that was where the fights are going to be. We knew that's where the fight is going to be, and I always felt like maybe we'll see something where Lucas is going to go and get that takedown and try to keep the fight in a different place where it's not comfortable for Ilias. And that's what a lot of people are expecting from that. But then we know that Ilias was expecting that too. But yeah.
So one thing that did come up during the interview that I did with Ilias was size. Ilias was coming up. Lucas was a natural at that weight. Yeah. I think personally that played a part. But in your sort of experience with it, do you reckon that played a part in that sort of
Absolutely. Absolutely. That played a part. But what also played a part is the day before the event, after the weigh-ins, I was sitting and having a chat with my team. And Sam looked at me and he said, it was an easy weight cut for Lucas.
He said, that's what he said to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Lucas had an easy weight cut. He was so comfortable. He looked so good, so fresh. Because I've seen Lucas fight, and especially because you're traveling from Brazil. It's not an easy travel when you come to the likes of Middle East, Asia, Europe. It is a long travel for him. So I've always seen him having a tough weight cut, always struggling with weight cuts, And he's a passionate, full of heart fighter that's really wanting to be at the top of the game, and always looking for it. So, but he did have tough weight cuts. But this is the first time I've seen him, heard from him in my team that Lucas had an easy weight cut. So not only that, I think Ilias was getting a weight class above him, but at the same time, I think Lucas was having a fantastic weight cut, and he was really on the best shape and best weight that he could be in. I think, yeah, sure. And now it makes a little more sense that that could have been a major factor when Ilias was fighting. But yeah, well, yeah, for sure.
After the fight, we saw Lucas do a little parade around the ring.
Yeah, he and his team as well. I was not focusing on Lucas because I immediately saw his corner man, looking at the crowd and yelling. So I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know why he was yelling. So I saw him yelling at the crowd and all this actions, these hands, and just yelling at them. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, you're not even looking at Lucas. You're looking at the crowd and yelling. So I just rushed into that area just to make sure everything is good. So I went there, and when I was seeing this, that's when I saw Lucas jump out, and I was looking, who's he yelling at? And I saw him yelling at Amin Ayub from the crowd. And then Lucas jumps out and rushes to Amin, and I'm like, this is not going to end really well,
I saw you there. I saw you there as the keeper.
Yeah. So I was like, thank God I rushed in, but then when I came close, I was like, hey, the guys are not, he was just going there to tell Amin that I want to fight you, and this belt is mine. I'm going to be the champion. And he said that, no hard feelings with Amin. When he's back, I'm going to take that fight with you. So yeah. Lucas is a class act, He knows the sport. He knows everything about it. He knows the media side about it. He knows all that feeling that he should have when he goes to a fight, that there's no mercy. I don't have to be good friends with people. But at the same time, I respect fighters because they're going through what I'm going through as well, So he has that thing which is very amazing, where he's not that guy who wants to always act respectful. He's respecting them because they're going through what he's going through as a fighter. But that does not mean that I love you or I'm going to be that nice guy to you. We're fighters, so I'm waiting for you. And if you're going to take my belt away, I'm going to beat you up. That's the mentality he has. Mm. So, yeah. And Amin was like, he came close to me. He's like, I'm ready, man. Anytime. Just let's get this started. Let's do the fight right now. So, yeah, interesting thing going on there as well.
It's quite interesting because Amin is obviously the former champion, and Lucas is now number one contender for the Brave Championship. What do you do next as an organization? Do you make the Amin fight, or do you put Lucas in for that title fight straight away?
I think realistically, I think there could be an opportunity where Amin and Lucas. That was our idea, right? What make Amin and Lucas fight? I mean, Lucas has showcased 2 fights now. He's come back with 2 wins back to back now, and that's a great result, for him to show that I'm back in the game. I think he's actually getting used to the idea of when you see him fight in Brazil. He performs amazing, right? But it's travel and the things that goes with it. And that's what I was a little bit worried when I saw Lucas with his family and with his daughter, which is amazing to see. It was beautiful, right? To see a fighter that's with his family throughout the week, and he was really enjoying it. He was taking it all in. I think he was so good where his mind was. He was in a good place. So that was great to see. But I always felt like, traveling from Brazil, always has a tough time, but he showed that, what, give me the opportunity. I've got used to it. I understand now what it takes to travel, to fight in Brave. We are going to travel around the world. We are going to fight in every country. That's an opportunity for me to showcase who I am to the world, rather than taking it as a difficulty. And I have to be prepared for capitalizing on that opportunity. And that, I think this was an example of showing that I am ready, from Bahrain to now France. And I think he's out there, showcased that he's ready. And I think that a tough fight, what's a top contender fight, could be an Lucas fight that's out there, and I think that fight should happen. But I think there's one more fight before Lucas jumps into. Lucas is not yet the title contender. I think he has one more fight before he could be considered that.
Well, hopefully that happens. That was obviously the review of the card. We did not see Eliza Cabanza on the card. Eliza, what a character, man. I love that guy.
Yeah, me too.
What's going on, Mohammed? Why did you not get him on the card, man?
No, we did get him on the card. I mean, the first thing I said after his fight in Bahrain, I think it was, I said that, what, he is getting back in quickly. I want him back in quick. And not because of anything, not because of contract or anything. I want to see him fight. Like I was purely speaking that from a fan perspective, that I want to watch him fight as soon as possible. And that's why we put him on the French card. No better place to be in. Speaks French. His country was excited. He has to be there on the card. And so we did put him on the card. One of the sad things that happens when you have global organization is always going to be the logistics. That's one of our biggest challenges. And it wasn't easy to get a visa for athletes. I mean, I remember the stories of Rolando D, who used to struggle when it happened to be events in some part of the world where, we want him to fight. He's supposed to get the opportunity, but then to get those visas are always going to be a problem. Yeah, I mean, Cabanza was unfortunate. His visa was not processed. one of those logistics issues that are always going to happen. And some of the countries don't, unfortunately, this is why we don't care really as an organization, because we don't care if we are going to have this logistics issue. Yes, I lost Kubanza's fight, but that's fine. We still try to get him the opportunity. But that's where a lot of promotions look and say, listen, and you're in the MMA business, and you see this very often if you talk to the fighters. If you don't have the visa, you're not going to be even considered to be having a contract on the roster. You have to show me your visa and how long it's there to be even considered by the promotion. And we're not that way. We know that some of the guys cannot get the visa unless they have an invitation to the organization or show the contract and get the invitation sent to them. That's the only way they can actually acquire visa or go and apply for visa. You can't get a visa for 3 years or 5 years like some of the countries where we are blessed to be in. We get that opportunity to get those visas for 3, 4, 5 years. But where he's from, he doesn't have that opportunity. So we're like, you know what, it doesn't matter. Let's book the fight, get you the invitation, do it. Doesn't happen. We're not going to cry about that, oh, we lost the fight. And he understands that. We understand it. And I think that's how it's always going to be with Brave. Regardless of where you're from, we're going to try and give you the opportunity. But if it doesn't happen because of the logistics issues or the visa's not getting approved, in the end of the day, we're not going to sit and say that, oh, wow, we lost a fight that everybody is expecting. I care more about being able to give that opportunity and try for it rather than trying to worry about people not getting that fight. A fighter knows it, we know it, and the fans will get that fight sooner or later anyways.
Well, when do you reckon it'll happen?
Oh, as soon as possible. I mean, I think that when we announce our next events, I want Kubanza to be in those events, so that's definitely going to be the plan. I don't think, I don't know who the opponent will be, but I want to get him back as soon as possible. I mean, Kubanza is unbelievable talent. He's exciting. He just gets, you meet him and you shake his hand and you shake his hand and you hold his arms and you're like, oh, I'm scared, man. That's scary,
Joe Shorty said the same thing. Joe Shorty Torres. He's like, I had this guy cheering on the corner. I was like, well, I'm not going to say anything to you. I'm going to leave you alone.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking to the TV talents. I told them that, you see people doing backflips. There's two kinds of backflips, right? There's one backflip you do because you know how to do a backflip. Yeah. And there's another backflip, you don't know how to do a backflip, but you force the backflip because you can, And he forces that backflip because he can. He just knows that throw your legs behind and force it to happen, and it'll happen, And that's where the scary part is, that he feels like he can make anything happen, And we can't wait to have him back, man. I mean, we're really excited to have him in Brave, and we're really looking forward to getting him that fight as soon as possible. We're looking for our next cards. We do have events in Bahrain coming up. That's going to be some cards that's going to be really, really exciting fights there.
Just a quick one about the backflip. Can you do the backflip yourself? Are you good on the backflip?
I know I can roll backwards.
That works. It's all good. As long as you can do it, that's all. That's good. Eliza Kubanza was very outspoken about the recent victory of Joe Shorty Torres against Nkosi. I had the pleasure of having Joe Torres on. Brilliant guest, really great guy. He says, listen, if Brave want the rematch, I work for Brave. They just need to tell me to fight and I'll do it. So tell us now, man. What do you reckon? Will that rematch happen in the near future?
It's the fight to make. That's the only fight that's currently, and that's why I know that I'm going to take a little bit of heat from the Bantamweight roster, because everybody's waiting for the title shot, and many of them even feels like they lost the opportunity to fight for the title because of their circumstances, and they feel like they should get that shot immediately, although they're okay with this fight between Shorty and Nkosi happening, and they feel like that place was theirs. But it doesn't matter, I know that I'm going to keep this fight. Has to happen. There's a lot of questions behind it. I know how fighters are taking this. A lot of athletes, a lot of fans, they've all been being very vocal about their opinion about the fight. I had two opinions about the fight myself, so I made that very clear. When I watched the fight, I did feel like it was a clear robbery, is what I felt. The first thing that in my mind was like, Nkosi got robbed. And that's what I felt. And I told my team, that's what I think, that I told them, I think Nkosi won the fight. But then I went to watch the fight again the next day, because we had to do a post-event discussion on this. So I watched the fight again. I was crazy how one 360 degree changed my mind. I was like, wow. And Nkosi, Shorty did win that fight. But then I said, you know what? If I felt 100% sure that Nkosi won the fight when I was watching live, and I was 100% sure that Shorty won that fight after I watched it again, that's a big split. It's not like I felt like, oh, it could have gone either ways. No, I had 100% sure about both the times. So that really comes down to an education process for what judging is, what refereeing is, and that needs to be discussed more, because if you look at it from one side of judging and from the judging and rules perspective of MMA, from one side, yes, Nkosi would have won that fight. But when you look at the other side, 100% Shorty won that fight. So it is a 100% win, but it's not about the fight itself, it's more about the rules. And that's where I feel like that fight should be a discussion. And I think we should have some discussions, and yourselves, to have with some refs and judges to come on the podcast, bring that fight out and tell them, how are you judging it and why are you judging it this way? Why did they get a 10-8 round in that fight? What did you score? Are you scoring damages? And when they use the word damages, they say the word damage, and you're like, you're judging the damages from what? From a cut, yeah? But then you tell me, if that cut happened the first round, would you consider that damage to carry forward to the fourth round or the fifth round? You don't do that. That's damage in the first round, and you have to leave it at the first round. You can't carry forward a damage, and it's crazy. So how did you get a 10-8 round in that particular round? And what do you call as damage? When you're on the cage, who hits who? Where's the aggression side of things? And what is defense and offense? Who's being more offensive? Is offense in a dominant position? If you're in a dominant position and you're being defensive, is that considered offensive? How do you judge it? So these are the most important things. So I could be on top of you and holding you down and not doing anything while you're attacking me, and we know very well that that's considered offensive from the guy from the bottom, but person on the dominant position is just holding you down. So I don't know, and I think that's a real deep discussion to have with multiple judges or referees to understand, because it is very subjective, and that's where this issue was in this fight. But guess what? If you do a rematch, both these guys know that they shouldn't leave it in the judges' hands. So they know that. And it's not that I do feel like even if there's a second match, these two guys are so high-level athletes, and very intelligent athletes. I mean, that's for me the difference. That it's just not two highly skilled athletes in one thing. They're both complete athletes in every department, but at the same time, they're two intelligent athletes, high IQ, fight IQ for both of these guys. So they have learned each other the first time. They have understood their mistakes, what happened the last fight. They've rectified the mistakes when they come into the second fight, but they also know that the opponent has done the same. So it's not going to be anything where you're going to look and say that one is going to dominate the other. They're both going to come back with a completely different game plan. But I felt like where Shorty excelled was adapting on spot. He was really changing his techniques and knowing what's happening and evolving to it round by round. I think that's where
you can see why the champion. The champions can adapt. The best fighters can adapt to the situation they're in. And Nkosi really used his range really well. Really effectively used that range. But as you said, Jose adapted his game to get on top. And that's why, me personally, I after scoring it, I gave it to Torres. Just because how he was able to adapt his game. And, the first round, second round, maybe Nkosi, but 3, 4, and 5 for me, Torres.
Yeah, first round is very clear, Nkosi, but yeah, you're right. And those little things a lot of people don't see, I mean, when he was throwing the front teep kick, which was, Nkosi was throwing the teep kick a lot in the first round, but then later on, he started avoiding that, and people, a lot of people don't get it. They look at it and they're like, okay, he's still kicking, but every time he kicks, he's using the elbows to parry it with his elbows, and that's something that a lot of people who haven't trained at that level don't see it. They feel like, oh, he's just getting the hit and he's just trying to react to it, but it's not. And the same thing with Muay Thai clinch. Every time he did a Muay Thai clinch, which worked out really well in the first round, but every time he did a Muay Thai clinch, Shorty realized, okay, this is going to be dangerous for me. Every time he does a Muay Thai clinch, I'm going to go to the far ears, twist his hands, go for the judo throw, or take him out balance, and it's really adapted well. Yeah, you're right, and that's what made him a champion.
What a high skill fight. Now, looking ahead, obviously we looked at the event, we looked back. Give me some news, Mohammed. What's going on, man?
Big things, bro. Coming on? Big things. We do have a lot of events planned out. We will announce some of the events by the end of this month. But we do have to announce the biggest event of the year is going to be December in Bahrain. We always love to end our Braves year with a mega event in Bahrain, and we're looking forward to making that event happen. It's going to be another Brave International Combat Week. So this is going to be the first year we've done 3 international combat weeks in the same year. So we've done in Serbia for the Brave International Combat Week with the World Championship, IMAF World Championships. We've done Brave International Combat Week in Colombia with the Pan American Championship, and we're going to do the Brave International Combat Week in Bahrain, where we're going to have 3 Brave events on the 5th of December, 8th of December, and 15th of December. Well, the 15th of December is going to be the big one, where it's you're going to have the big fights going on there. But at the same time, I'm looking forward to having that rematch between Shorty and Nkosi here in Bahrain in December, you know. So I don't want to end the year. I don't want to end the year without having an answer to this, man. I mean, I've been having less sleep just thinking about it, you know. So I need to find a solution and answer for this year itself, and we need to find out who's the bantamweight champion before the rest of the bantamweight roster jumps in. Because in Nkosi, even if I don't know, I mean, if it's not a decisive win again, and if Nkosi wins that fight, what we're gonna have a Shorty and Nkosi 3 then, you know? So
you have to create a new title for the bantamweight. You have to create a new title for the other guy.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're gonna have that fight in December. We have to get that out of the way when you enter 2024. We need to have an answer for this. But we're gonna have the big event, 3 events lined up, and that it's a combat week, so that the news doesn't stop there. There's always gonna be new things coming up. Addition to combat week. So hopefully by the end of this month as well, we will do an addition of news to what's the extra things that's going to be happening during the combat week, from guests to events to anything to do with as we always do in combat week. We need to have the amateur federations, the amateur development program as a part of it. So we will announce what the amateur development program will be. Is it going to be a championships, or is it going to be something else, you know? So there's a lot more news to come, and and we will be having events before December as well, which is in the pipeline, waiting for the last final confirmations to announce it from the team, and we will have that announcement as well the coming week.
Could you share any of that?
I would be losing leverage over negotiations then.
We'll wait for the announcement, and we'll look forward to hearing what you got coming out. It sounds really exciting. You've made me excited that in December, that fight, Joe, Shorty, Torres, and Nkosi, that would be great. That would be amazing.
We need that to happen. Yeah, that's going to be fun one, you know.
Amazing, man. Mohammed, is there anything else you'd like to say before we finish off today?
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me. As always, guys, all the listeners, you know, we're going to have all the news and all the things about updates on Brave, the content, all of that on Brave TV. You know, we have our Brave TV app. It's something that we want to look forward to more than just having an app for watching fights. We're slowly going to develop it into everything that a MMA fan wants, from news, from content, but even instructionals, you know. And that's something that I would always have loved to have once upon a time in my life when I was a fighter as well. But when you have superstars like this, you want to get the maximum out of these athletes in the MMA world, you know, from diet, what they eat, what's their lifestyle, what their training programs are, what the techniques that they know of. And like we said, we have guys like combat sambo world champions to jiu-jitsu world champions, wrestling world champions, all of them combined in the Brave roster, and we want to capitalize and make sure the fans have the maximum engagement with these athletes.
Amazing, man. That's amazing too. We really look forward to that when that all comes out, man. Thank you very much for joining us again. Guys, thank you very much for listening, and keep an eye on the next one. Thank you.